Hey guys, tonight we're going back to a time when honor weighed about 40 pounds and sat directly on your spine. You're a fresh-faced squire, finally promoted to full-blown knight. You're excited, maybe even glowing a bit. That is, until they hand you your helmet. At first glance, it looks majestic, shiny, regal, something worthy of epic poetry. But the moment it lands on your head, the poetry dies. Fast. Your neck gives a polite crack. Your vision narrows into two little keyholes. Breathing suddenly sounds like you've been stuffed inside a tin can. And worst of all, this is the light version. The real helmets, used in justs or full-scale battle, can weigh anywhere between 10 to 15 pounds. Doesn't sound like much? Try balancing a bowling ball on your skull while riding a galloping horse into flying spears. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, while you're at it, drop your city and the current time in the comments. I love seeing where in the world you're tuning in from, and how late you're staying up for this strange little history rabbit hole. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. It starts simple. You reach for the helmet on its wooden stand. The metal is cold, even indoors. As you lift it, you feel a small resistance from your own wrists, your body already whispering, "Are we sure about this?" Then you place it on your head. At first, it's just heavy, manageable, but after 10 minutes, your spine begins to whisper too. See, medieval helmets weren't built with ergonomics in mind. There were no adjustable straps, no memory foam linings. Some didn't even have padding. The weight pressed directly down onto the top of your skull and neck vertebrae, slowly compacting them like a poorly stacked library shelf. What's worse, a lot of knights had to wear helmets not just in battle, but during parades, training drills, even long hours of guard duty. That means you're standing completely still, sometimes in full sun, wearing a miniature tower on your head. You can't scratch your nose. You can't rub your eyes. You just exist. Painfully. Now, historians still argue about how often knights actually wore their full helmets. Some say it was only in direct combat. Others insist knights were expected to be ready at all times, at least when in hostile territory. The truth? It probably varied. But one thing's certain. When the helmet came on, comfort left the building. You try to turn your head. Can't. You try to nod at someone. Barely. Peripheral vision? Non-existent. You now understand why some accounts describe knights being startled by arrows they never saw coming from the side. Then comes the sweat. Helmets trapped heat like an oven. No airflow, no moisture-wicking liner. Just your own hot breath bouncing back at you. In summer, that could mean dizziness, dehydration, or heat stroke, while still trying to maintain battlefield awareness. One obscure manuscript from 1320 casually notes that a knight removed his helm and vomited upon the grass, having stood too long in the sun. You feel that? Deeply. And let's talk about the sound. Oh, the sound. Every footstep echoes. Every grunt bounces. Your own heartbeat starts to sound like distant drums. The moment something strikes your helmet, whether it's a sparring sword or a falling apple from a tree, it reverberates like a church bell in your skull. After a few hours, your neck starts tilting forward. Not because you're tired, though you are, but because your muscles are giving out. Your posture goes from regal to roasted shrimp. And the long-term effects? Modern researchers believe that repeated helmet use contributed to early-onset arthritis, nerve impingement, and spinal misalignment. Some knights developed chronic neck pain so intense they were prescribed herbal compresses and full-week bed rests. But remember, this is just the helmet. This isn't even counting the chainmail coif under it, or the stiff leather padding that rubs your ears raw. And don't forget, once that helmet is strapped on, you need someone else to take it off. It locks in from the back. So if you fall in battle, knocked out cold, well, hope your squire likes you. You remove the helmet at the end of the day. Your hair is matted, your scalp is tender, and your neck crackles like old parchment. But tomorrow, you're putting it back on again. Because being a knight isn't about glory. It's about weight. And you're carrying it, one vertebra at a time. Your head still aches from yesterday, but there's no time to dwell on that. This morning, you're handed a fresh responsibility, and by fresh, we mean approximately 3 hours of sitting on a horse. Straight, without moving, in armor, on a wooden saddle. At first, you're excited. Riding out with your fellow knights? Sounds heroic. The open fields, the morning mist, your proud steed pawing the earth like it's ready to write poetry with its hooves. You climb aboard, straighten your back, and for the first 5 minutes, it's not bad. You feel like a part of something grand. Then the horse moves. Just a little. A shift of weight. A twitch. And your spine immediately protests. See, medieval saddles weren't designed for comfort. They weren't meant for long, leisurely rides through the countryside. They were built for combat stability. That meant high backs, steep slopes, narrow seating areas. Anything to lock you into place so you wouldn't fly off mid-joust. Comfortable? Not even slightly. You try to adjust your posture. Can't. The saddle won't let you. There's no padding, no shock absorption. Every step your horse takes translates directly into your lower back. It's like trying to balance on a moving staircase while someone gently hammers your tailbone with a wooden spoon. And you're not just riding. You're armored. You've got chainmail pressing into your thighs, a metal breastplate pinning your shoulders down, and a sword strapped to your side that knocks your hip every time the horse trots. You become very aware of your own bones. The term saddle sore doesn't begin to cover it. After an hour, it feels like someone replaced your pelvis with a bag of gravel. You begin shifting side to side, first slightly, then desperately, hunting for a position that doesn't hurt. Spoiler, there isn't one. A 14th century knight once wrote that the saddle teaches humility. He's not wrong. You're starting to question everything. Your choices, your spine, and whether chivalry is really worth it. Historians still debate whether knights regularly used any kind of padding between themselves and the saddle. Some sources suggest woolen cushions or folded cloaks. Others claim that was only for nobility or when injuries made it absolutely necessary. Either way, what you've got right now is standard issue: wood, leather, and pain. Let's not forget the stirrups. Yes, they help with balance, but they also force your knees into a locked, half-bent position for hours. Try holding a squat for 3 hours while bouncing slightly. Your thighs begin shaking like terrified leaves. You dream of hammocks. And your back? Well, it's trying to do the job of both a shock absorber and a suspension system. Every hoofbeat compresses your lumbar spine a little more. Every bump in the road sends a polite punch up your vertebrae. There's a reason chronic back pain was rampant among mounted soldiers. Medical texts from the period mention rider's curvature, a term that likely refers to abnormal spinal bends caused by years of poor riding posture. Some even developed nerve pain so intense it caused loss of sensation in the legs. You begin to wonder if that's a bug or a feature. Now, here's a little-known fact. Many knights actually trained on wooden horses indoors, just to prepare their bodies for the brutality of real riding. Not for technique, just for endurance. You imagine yourself now, sitting in a dusty hall, wobbling on a wood frame like a medieval rodeo clown, praying your hips don't snap. As the day wears on, your body shifts into survival mode. You're not thinking about glory or banners anymore. You're focused on the weird numbness in your left foot, the sharp jab near your shoulder blade, the tiny muscle in your back that's twitching like it's sending Morse code. You finally dismount. Your knees buckle, your thighs buzz, your back screams. You're not sure whether to lie down or gently fall apart, but you stand tall. Well, as tall as you can while slightly hunched, and try to look noble. Because that's what knights do, right? You're sore, exhausted, and thinking longingly about warm baths you'll never have. But now comes the next layer of your transformation, the armor. Today, you're suiting up for a ceremonial march. Not battle, not training, just a slow, stately walk through the town square. Sounds easy, right? You haven't worn full plate before. They lay it out piece by piece. Greaves for your shins, cuisses for your thighs, a breastplate, vambraces, pauldrons, gorget, gauntlets. It's like watching someone assemble a knight-shaped puzzle, and you are the cardboard backing. The whole ensemble weighs anywhere from 45 to 60 pounds. Not evenly, either. Your shoulders take the worst of it. So does your lower back. You can feel your body begin to adjust, tilting just slightly forward, knees softening, hips tightening. You don't look noble. You look like a coat rack under pressure. You think you'll be able to walk. You try. It's more of a shuffle. Everything clanks. Your arms barely swing. Your hips refuse to twist. Turning around becomes a three-step process involving prayer and geometry. And still, you haven't even picked up your sword. Now, medieval armor was a marvel of engineering. Contrary to some movie myths, knights could move in it. But move doesn't mean move comfortably. Think of it like wearing 3 denim jackets, a weighted vest, and a baking sheet taped to each limb. Technically mobile, functionally miserable. Inside, you're wearing a gambeson, a padded undergarment meant to protect your skin and absorb some of the pressure. It's thick, quilted, feels like a sleeping bag duct taped to your body. It also traps heat like an oven. Add the metal layers on top, and suddenly you're slow cooking in your own heroic juices. Some days, knights fainted not from fear, but from sheer temperature. Chronic overheating was so common that squires were trained specifically to listen for early signs of collapse. You know that hazy feeling? That fuzz behind your eyes? You're there. Here's a strange tidbit. Some knights used to stuff fresh herbs or crushed mint leaves into their armor, partly to help with the smell, partly for cooling properties. It didn't really help, but hey, it made them smell like a fancy roasted chicken. Scholars still argue over how long a knight could reasonably wear full armor in non-combat settings. Some say hours at a time. Others think it was more like 20 to 30 minutes before a rest was required. But one consensus remains. If you didn't already have back problems, armor would introduce you. You try to straighten up. Nope. The breastplate is pushing your chest forward and shoulders back. Your spine does not like this. It lets you know via a slow, persistent ache in your mid-back. That's your thoracic region, by the way. You'll become intimately familiar with it. Then comes the sword. It hangs awkwardly at your hip. Every time you step forward, it knocks your leg, throwing off your balance just a bit. Doesn't matter how cool you look. Every third step is a misstep, and still, you march. Children cheer. People bow. You nod back stiffly, like a bobblehead glued in place. You try to wave, but forget your gauntlet weighs almost as much as a loaf of bread. You wave once. Never again. The worst part? You're not allowed to take it off yourself. Removing armor is a 2-person job. So when your back cramps mid-march, when your shoulder blades feel like they're fusing, when sweat drips down your spine and into your boots, you can't do a thing. Just smile. Nod. March. Later that evening, you finally get it all off. Piece by piece. Your squire pulls at the buckles. The straps are stiff with dried sweat. Your limbs are shaking slightly. Your body feels lighter, but somehow also more broken. You lie down on the nearest bench. It creaks ominously beneath your metal-fatigued frame. And for a few seconds, you think you're floating. Then the ache returns. Deep, slow, ancient. Your back reminds you. That armor's off, but I'm still here. And tomorrow? There's a tournament. Sleep wasn't kind to you. You wake up feeling like someone hammered you into a tin mold and left you outside to cool. Your back is stiff. Your shoulders won't lift past your ears. And your hips? Let's just say they're politely refusing to participate in today's events. But it's training day, which means pain day. You arrive at the practice yard, trying to walk like you didn't sleep curled around a rock. The sun is already high. Your gambeson sticks to you before you even start moving. Around you, the clanking has begun. Swords clashing, grunts of effort, the occasional yelp. Welcome to night school. Your first lesson? Falling down. Not dramatic, slow motion, movie-style falling. No, this is real, sudden, graceless collapse. You're taught how to roll when knocked off your feet. How to hit the ground without dislocating anything. How to get back up while wearing enough armor to qualify as furniture. The problem is, armor doesn't bend. Not in the right places. You can't just tuck and roll. You do this stiff, jerky version of a tumble, like a breadstick trying to perform parkour. When you finally stop moving, your head is spinning and your spine is filing a formal complaint. And then your instructor tells you to do it again. Here's the twist. This is actually progress. Knights had to master controlled failure. They trained to fall off horses, trip in battle, slide on wet ground, and recover fast. Because if you stayed down, you either got dragged off the field or, worse, stepped on by your own side. Modern historians sometimes call this impact conditioning, but there's no fancy science behind it. Just repetition. Repetition and bruises. One lesser-known manuscript even describes how squires would practice falling from low platforms before ever mounting a horse, like medieval stuntmen. You imagine your younger self, leaping off barrels and landing flat on your back, while someone claps politely and says, "Again." So here you are, rolling in dirt, sweating through thick linen, and hoping your elbow joint doesn't lock again. You try to lift yourself. Your legs are spaghetti. Your lower back feels like it's one sneeze away from betrayal. But you rise. Wobbly, sure, but upright. Next comes sword work. At first, it's all about posture. Keep your core tight, shoulders relaxed, weight evenly distributed. Sounds simple. Now do it while holding a 3-foot steel blade, wearing 50 pounds of armor, and trying not to wobble like a newborn goat. You swing. Mississippi swing again. Miss less. Then someone smacks your shield, and your entire body vibrates like a bell tower. You stumble back. Catch yourself. Your lower back? Screaming. Remember those fun little stabilizer muscles you never knew existed? They're working overtime now. Every movement engages your entire trunk. There's no such thing as an isolated injury for a night. When one part hurts, the rest files a complaint in solidarity. Academic debates still rage over whether the average knight was truly athletic by modern standards. Some argue their strength was more about brute endurance. Others say elite knights were closer to professional fighters. Either way, everyone agrees. Your back didn't stand a chance. You take a water break. Well, sort of. You're not allowed to remove your helmet. So you awkwardly tilt your head back and let the water trickle down your chin, into your mail collar, and finally down your back. Congratulations. Now you're wet and in pain. But there's still one more drill: ground recovery. This charming activity involves someone knocking you flat with a padded staff, then timing how fast you can stand up. It's harder than it sounds. You fall. Again. You roll. Your armor catches on itself. You're suddenly a turtle, upside down, limbs flailing. When you finally rise, the instructor says, "Faster." You want to say something witty, but you've forgotten language. Your spine is a poem of suffering. Your knees are whispering dark thoughts. But you nod, like the stoic knight you're pretending to be. Training ends. You hobble away. No fanfare. No cheering crowd. Just a sore back, aching shoulders, and dirt in places dirt was never meant to be. But hey, you only got hit in the face twice today. That's a win. The stars are out. You've made it through the day, barely, and now, finally, it's time to rest. Except, rest is complicated. You duck into your tent. It's barely taller than you are, and it smells like wet wool and ambition. You're hoping for a mattress, maybe a nice cot. Instead, you find a blanket, a canvas ground sheet, and a suspicious-looking pile of straw. Welcome to night class lodging. You lower yourself slowly, gingerly, one vertebra at a time. The floor greets your back with all the warmth of a cold tile. Your hips ache. Your shoulders ache. Even your ankles, somehow, are upset. You twist onto your side. No good. Onto your stomach. Worse. You settle on your back, arms crossed, like a knight in a tomb, and hope your spine will forgive you someday. Medieval knights didn't sleep in beds unless they were very high-ranking or very lucky. Most of the time, on campaign or between castles, they slept in tents or in barracks on uneven ground with minimal padding. Think of it like camping, but you've just done battle choreography all day, and there's a 60% chance your bed has a beetle in it. Your armor is off now, but its memory lingers. You feel it in the way your back refuses to flatten, your shoulders still slightly rounded forward. That's your body trying to recover from compression or rebellion. It's unclear. And no, you can't just stretch it out. There are no yoga mats in the 14th century, no foam rollers, no wellness retreats in the Alps, just a few herbal poultices and some wishful thinking. Interestingly, some knights did carry medicinal herbs, things like comfrey, lavender, or arnica. These were used in teas, ointments, or stuffed into little cloth bags to ease soreness. Did they work? Maybe a bit. But honestly, so would a hot bath and 8 hours on a real mattress, neither of which you have. You try to sleep. Your mind races. Your back pulses. You shift again. Outside, you hear someone coughing. Someone else is snoring like a wounded warhorse. A dog barks. The wind whistles. You close your eyes. The tent flaps rattle like ghosts telling bad jokes. You open your eyes again. Even when nights were indoors, like inside a keep or castle, the bedding wasn't always ideal. Sure, there were feather mattresses in theory, but most soldiers got sacks of straw or hay, layered with itchy wool. If you were lucky, someone swept out the bugs beforehand. And while we're on the subject, bugs. You scratch your leg. Was that a flea? Probably. Ticks. Definitely a possibility. Mice. Honestly, you'd welcome the company. Historians are still debating whether nightly sleeping habits worsened back conditions or merely reflected them. Some believe poor sleep surfaces accelerated spinal curvature and muscular fatigue. Others argue that the real culprit was the armor and the training, and bad bedding just sealed the deal. Either way, you're living the experiment. Eventually, you drift into something resembling sleep. It's not restful. It's not restorative. But it counts. You wake up twice during the night. Once to a muscle cramp in your lower back that makes you yelp like a tiny dog, and once because your arm fell asleep and scared you. You roll over onto your side, hugging your scabbard like a pillow. The stars twinkle somewhere beyond the canvas ceiling. You whisper a small prayer to whoever's in charge of vertebrae, and somehow, you fall back asleep. Not because your body is healed, but because it's too tired to argue anymore. Morning comes, again. You sit up. Well, sort of. It's more of a sideways roll followed by a low grunt. Your back is doing that thing where it's not technically broken, but it's definitely protesting your lifestyle choices. Your joints click like old door hinges. Your spine is stiff. Your hips feel like they've been misaligned by a bear hug from a blacksmith. But you've got a job to do. You throw on your layers, shirt, gambeson, armor. Each buckle is a negotiation. Each strap a betrayal. You mutter under your breath, which is just medieval for "this is fine." What you don't realize yet, what no one told you, is that most of the damage isn't from dramatic moments. It's not from the battlefield or the joust, or that one time you fell down a hill in full armor. No, the real injuries are slow, sneaky, silent. They creep in during long days of riding, endless hours of standing guard, repetitive training drills, years of wearing weight you can't shed, and the pain? It becomes part of you. A background hum, like a lute string always slightly out of tune. Today, it's your lower back that complains the most, right above the hips, where the spine starts curving into something more permanent. That's where nights tend to collapse over time, where the lumbar vertebrae compress, grind, and quietly rebel. And it's not just your bones. It's tendons, muscles, nerves. Nights developed what some modern scholars call occupational degradation. Essentially, their bodies broke down the way a stone staircase does, slowly and with heavy use. One squire's journal from the late 1300s mentions Sir Edward, who oft cracked when he bowed, and walked as though the wind displeased him. You feel seen, Sir Edward. The term armored arthritis gets thrown around by modern historians. It's not official, but it fits. The combination of weight, pressure, and vibration from riding caused many nights to develop chronic joint inflammation. Shoulders froze. Hips stiffened. Knees became uncooperative. There are records of knights who retired early, not from injury, but from what was simply called body weariness. They were only in their 30s that you stretch. Sort of. One arm up. That's enough. Your back twinges. You feel older than time itself. And then there's the chafing. Oh, the chafing. No one ever talks about what it's like to wear armor all day, sweat inside it, and then wear it again the next day. The friction alone causes irritation in places too delicate to name in polite company. Some knights rubbed wax or oil on their skin to reduce the scraping. Others just endured. A surprising number of knights also suffered from what we might now call repetitive strain injuries. Tendinitis in the elbows, chronic wrist pain, one-handed sword swings, done thousands of times, create muscle imbalances. You begin to notice one shoulder sits higher than the other. You adjust your gear. The breastplate pinches again. The strap digs into the same spot as yesterday and the day before that. You begin to wonder if your armor is custom fit to your worst pressure points. Scholars still debate the long-term health of medieval knights. Some say they were elite warriors in peak condition. Others argue their bodies aged fast, like athletes without medical staff. The truth is probably both. Strong, yes, but also wrecked from the inside out. And there's no word for chiropractor in Middle English, no physical therapy. No ergonomic saddle. Just herbs, hot wine, and walk it off. You swing your sword in practice. Your shoulder catches halfway. You pause. Shake it out. Keep going. Because that's what you do. You keep going. Your body, despite everything, still moves. Still swings. Still stands. But each day, it whispers a little louder. Asterisk, maybe don't. Asterisk. You no longer count the days by sunrises. You count them by soreness. This morning, your back doesn't crack when you rise, it groans. Like old wood under too much weight. You've gotten used to the stiffness. To the way your shoulders tighten before you even lift your arms. You expect the pain now. Like an old friend. Or a really clingy roommate. Today, you're not training. You're not marching. You're simply existing. Standing guard outside the Lord's Hall. 2 hours in full armor. Holding a pike. Unmoving. Glorious, right? The weight pulls you down almost immediately. Your knees lock. Your feet go numb. You shift slightly to the left. Bad move. Your lower back flares up in protest. You shift to the right. Now it's your hip. You settle for straight-up pain. You stare ahead at the courtyard. A dog trots by. A rooster crows. A child waves. You nod stiffly. Your spine interprets it as an act of aggression. You reflect, not because you're philosophical, but because you can't move much else. You remember when you first put on armor. How exciting it was. How proud you felt. Now, the shine is gone. Literally. Your breastplate is dinted, scuffed, and smells faintly of onions. Your sword is chipped. Your boots have molded perfectly to your suffering. There's a term your captain once used. Asterisk, iron fatigue. Asterisk, he was talking about actual swords, but you're pretty sure it applies to your bones too. Some knights, especially those who reached middle age, developed a posture historians nicknamed the warrior stoop. Shoulders curled forward, neck slightly down, hips tilted. It wasn't from laziness, it was survival. The only position where things didn't hurt too much. Academic circles still puzzle over the lack of direct medical records for chronic pain in knights. Was it underreported, ignored, or simply accepted as part of the job? Likely all three. Pain wasn't something you treated. It was something you carried, like your sword, or your regrets. You finish your shift. A squire helps you remove your gear. You grunt, not from effort, just the kind of emotional noise one makes when exiting a metal exoskeleton. Your tunic clings to you. You stretch, or try. Your back says, maybe next week. Later that evening, a feast. You sit stiffly on a wooden bench, sipping warm ale, nodding at jokes you don't quite hear. Your lower back throbs in time with the drumbeat. No one else notices you shifting constantly, but you do. You think of the others, older knights, now retired. Some walk with canes. Some ride in carts. A few moved into monasteries, trading armor for robes and muscle pain for quiet prayers. You envy them, a little. But then again, you chose this. You remember the tournaments. The rides at dawn. The thrill of battle. The weight of a sword in your hand. The heat of a metal helm in winter frost. There was glory once. And camaraderie. And laughter. Not all pain. Still, tonight, as you lie on your straw mattress, you wince with every small movement. You find your favorite position. On your side, knee bent, back slightly curled. That's the one that hurts the least. And in the silence, your body speaks clearly. You are not who you were. Your strength is still there, but now it shares space with fatigue, with creaking joints, with a quiet, noble ache, and you close your eyes. Not in comfort, but in peace. The next morning, the sky is pale and soft, like wool dipped in milk. You rise slowly. Everything still hurts, of course, but it's a familiar ache now. Not the sharp, shocking pain of youth. but the slow, lived-in kind. A pain that says, you have done something. Outside, the fields are wet with dew. The training yard is empty. You walk past it without looking down. You don't need to. Every splinter of that fence, every stone in the ground, you know them like old friends. A stable boy nods at you. A washerwoman calls you sir. You don't correct her. Not anymore. You may never ride into glory again. You may never lift a sword the way you once did. But still, your presence means something. You carry stories in your bones, in your limp, in the way you place your hand on your hip before sitting down. There is honor in youth. Yes, in speed, and skill, and steel. But there's a quieter honor in endurance that I in staying. In waking up each day, sore and slow, and still saying, I am here. And sometimes that's enough.